Okay, so I'm just gonna start, and here's what it's gonna be. We recently had an episode about saving movie theaters. Turns out they're cooked. It's just apparently there's no way to save them. Michael Eisner, who is an ex-CEO of Disney, has now gone on record. And not only has he said that theaters are cooked, but he's even given a time frame on how much longer they have before it's donezo. He
How
said
much
that
time do we
theaters
have? Because I need to go watch a
apparently
bunch of things before it happens.
apparently theaters have about 20 years left, according to Michael Eisner.
Okay.
So,
So I got some time.
well, 20 years kind of goes faster than I think we all feel it would go. But when I heard this, I was like, okay, why? Why do you think this? And he didn't have like numbers or anything like that. But our friends over at Stage Runner have broken down the numbers, and doesn't look too good. So in the 1930s, 90 million Americans went to the theater every week, which is wild. It was like 60% of people were going to the theaters every week. In the 50s, that dropped off to about 45 million people, which is about 45%. So
Which is
that's
the golden era of television, right? I mean, that coincides with,
well, so the reason that happened was home TV. That was when TVs were commercially available for you to have in your house. And the long and short of it is that streaming is basically the new home TV. It's revitalizing the home TV market. And we're starting to see an even bigger drop off in theater going. So if the trend continues, Michael Eisner is probably right.
I hope not. And, we had that whole episode, and if anybody's interested, they should definitely check it out. But I think that the key to theater success is that they find a way to create a unique experience when you go to the theater, because that's what's going to keep them going. Like beyond the visual part, something else that is going to elevate the experience where you can't replicate that at home, at least not yet, and that'll prolong their life. But we'll see.
Maybe Michael Eisner was a CEO. Not that all CEOs are all that, but he was CEO of Disney for quite a while, and he's a pretty smart guy.
I was also a CEO, Morgan. I was a CEO of Jason Inc. I run a tight ship every day, and it's amazing that I get from point A to point B. So I want my flowers. Thank you.
Our next headline is equally as abysmally disheartening.
It's all doom and gloom today, Morgan.
So, literally yesterday, there was a interview with Matthew McConaughey and Timothy Chalamet. I don't know if I could call it an interview, but it was like this talk.
It was it was what the CNN. Yeah, but it was like an actors on actors thing where Timothy Chalamet interviewed Matthew McConaughey. I saw a part of this.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you saw this part of it, but Matthew McConaughey has said in no uncertain terms that resisting AI is not an option. He said, and this is a quote, "It's coming, it's already here, don't deny it. It's not enough to sit on the sidelines and make the moral plea this is wrong. It's not going to last. There's too much money to be made, it's too productive." So we've very vocally on the channel stated our disdain for AI.
Hashtag made by humans.
The thing though is I like Matthew McConaughey a lot, and this statement made me be like, Matt, I want to fight you right now. But the thing is,
look, Matthew McConaughey is actually one of the first actors that also, I believe it was him, that has worked with some company out in California to digitize his likeness. And probably for this reason, that he thinks that is coming and it's inevitable. So he is trying to get ahead of the curve by saying, look, if you want to use my likeness and my voice and all that, you're going to have to pay a fee for it because it is its own digital entity, which ultimately, if that's the way that all of Hollywood goes, that does change the conversation a bit, because now you're not just stealing stuff, you're actually paying people for their usage, even when they're not physically on set. And I don't know how I feel about that yet. To me, that feels better, but I'd have to know the ins and outs of it. But I do want to point out, I don't know if you saw more of that interview now, but the part that I saw is when Timothée Chalamet was asking Matthew McConaughey if he watches his own stuff. And he says he watches it just one time. He says it's really hard for him to watch himself because he nitpicks all the stuff, but he does watch it one time. And I immediately thought of you because you don't like to watch your own stuff.
Hate it.
And I don't understand how it's always cringy to watch yourself on camera. But to me, it's like I have to watch because otherwise I can't fix anything. But I thought it was funny that he's like, one time, and then after that, I can't do it anymore. And Timothée Chalamet's mind was blown that he's only seen Interstellar once. He's like, what about Interstellar? And Matthew McConaughey's like, one time. He's like, one time? No, you had to have done it like 3 or 4. He's like, no, one time. He's like, that's insane. Like, he could not wrap his head around it. It's great.
Like I said, this is why I don't knock anybody, because Timothée Chalamet would be a representation of your process in the big leagues, and Matthew McConaughey would be an example of my process in the big leagues.
No, because he still watches it once. He's still ahead of you. You don't watch it at all. You're like, I did it. I'll just pray for the best. Like, at least he's got one in there.
I would still, okay. I mean, like, I guess I would point to my example would be Johnny Depp, but Johnny Depp wasn't part of this discussion. I'm just saying, like, the idea that there is a superior technique, in my opinion, is sort of wrong to think, because what's going to work for somebody is not going to work for somebody else. And this is all, I think, a good prelude to what the rest of the episode is going to be about, because I'm going to stay on the real news aspect of this. So going back to what you said about Matthew McConaughey saying that people would have to pay a fee, he goes on to say in this part of the interview that trademark yourself. Trademark it so when it comes, and not if, no one can steal it from you. And this is something that I've been struggling with for a little while, because my understanding is that in copyright law, you have an intrinsic copyright on your likeness and your voice. Like, you don't have to go to the patent office and trademark yourself because you have an inherent trademark on yourself as far as like the law is concerned. So I'm not entirely sure what he means by that, because if you were to go and trademark your image, it wouldn't actually legally mean anything. So I'm just, that's advice that he gave that I was like, I mean, like, that's a great idea if I could do it, but you can't actually.
But I think that's what he's saying, though, is that this is going to be a thing. So he's just getting out there early to say, look, when it's a thing and you need to buy a Matthew McConaughey, I have the property for sale. This way you don't have to rip it off and then I have to fight you legally for it. So if you need it, I've registered, I've trademarked, whatever, and you can get that through legal means where I still get compensated and you don't have the legal battle. Like, I think that's the whole point.
Sure. I just don't know what he has done to enable that, because I've actually heard of a lot of different content creators doing this where they've trademarked their Instagram page or trademarked their face. And I've heard lawyers comment on this, and I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, guys. Don't take this as legal advice. But I've listened to lawyers commentate on this, and a lot of them say you have an intrinsic copyright on you. Like, that's just sort of an inalienable right that you have. Like, you have the right to life, liberty, and happiness, and a trademark on your face. Like,
I'm also obviously not a lawyer, but I do wonder if that has anything to do with when you have done a project for a studio, and let's say you have a character, they own the rights to the character, and now they want to do a sequel or a follow-up that involves that character. Do they now have some kind of access because you've signed off on something connected to the character and they're
maybe
using the character versus law is funny, and it's like finding little loopholes a lot of times, and I wonder if that's the avenue in there.
Yeah,
but
could be.
That's speculation. I don't know that for sure.
It could be. This is where we would say consult your local arts and entertainment lawyer. Well, this is not legal advice, guys. I'm going to keep saying that because genuinely, this is not legal advice. But the last thing that Matthew McConaughey said in this part of the interview was he predicted that AI actors in the Oscars is coming, which we had a whole episode about Tilly Norwood and how crazy that thing was. But He's like, I don't know if it will be part of the Oscars in the sense that we won't be able to tell the difference, so there won't be a reason to separate it out. If it will be a whole different category, where it will be Best Actor in an AI movie or Best AI Actor category. But his opinion was that it's coming to the Oscars, so that's wild.
I hope not. And granted, I like Matthew McConaughey. He could also be wrong. Because what would you be naming the Oscar for? That's not a even if they allow AI actors and you really like the performance, you're going to give the award to the AI actor. If anything, wouldn't you give it to the digital engineer that created them?
Well, I mean,
Silly.
the details. I think the details are the nitty gritty of how you would work it out. But I think that nowadays, the Oscars does have prestige. I'm not going to say that the Oscar doesn't have prestige, but a lot of times winning an Oscar is a marketing tactic in order to get people to see your movie. So there's this huge lobby to get your movie nominated to drum up interest in people going to see your movie, and then winning it is sort of the icing on the cake. There's a pretty big component that's a marketing tactic, but that's a whole separate episode that if you're interested, let us know. Maybe we'll talk about awards ceremonies and the crazy politics of them. But our last headline for today is...
Can I just throw in one? All right. While we're in there?
This is sort of connected because this next headline is Timothy Chalamet. So I'm sure you've heard of Marty Supreme. It had a pretty crazy marketing run, and apparently it paid off because Marty Supreme, against all odds, is a sleeper hit. Everyone was apparently very skeptical about whether or not this movie was going to succeed. A lot of people thought it was going to flop really hard, given that it's a biopic, which typically don't do very well. And A24 spent $70 million on this movie, which is their biggest movie budget to date. And despite all those odds, the movie is currently sitting at $147 million worldwide, making it A24's highest grossing film, which is nuts because it's a biopic, which people don't generally
I actually didn't
think
know it was
of.
a biopic. I want to see it. I have it on my list of movies to see. I just haven't had time to yet, but I want to see it, and specifically because of the marketing campaign.
Yeah,
I thought it was. I mean, it was really engaging. The whole thing, like him standing on top of the sphere in Vegas, and all these other things, staying in character outside of the movie, I thought was a really interesting approach.
So apparently, aggressive, unorthodox marketing works, and now I'm even more curious to know how Solo Mio is going to do.
I was just going to say, we're going to have to do a deep dive on, the marketing strategies of Solo Mio and Marty Supreme, because these were both uniquely marketed, and it looks like it's working for the one. I haven't checked the numbers on the other. Have you seen anything about how Solo Mio is doing?
I didn't. I found out about Marty Supreme literally last night, so I haven't had an opportunity to go and look at Solo Mio. But I'm very interested now because Marty Supreme had this just very aggressive, very unorthodox marketing strategy, and Solo Mio isn't an aggressive marketing strategy so much as it is unorthodox, but it's also it's also though very consistent. Right. So the thing with the Marty Supreme marketing campaign was that it was like wow factor. And the thing with Solo Mio is they were like, let's just sort of treat this like any other creator page and make it very grounded, very natural. A lot of people nowadays, especially with the rise of AI, are gravitating towards that sort of authentic hashtag made by humans vibe, which Solo Mio sort of nailed with its marketing campaign.
But to be fair, I think a lot of the appeal of that marketing campaign was that he was presenting himself as Matt Taylor. And you look at him, you're like, this guy's a spitting image of Kevin James. Is this Kevin James? And people didn't know. So, like, if it was a total unknown actor doing the same thing, I don't know that would have worked the same, because I think that the allure was trying to figure out, is this a guy who just looks insanely similar to a real actor, or is this an actor pretending to just be some ordinary dude? So either way, I think it's very interesting, and I hope that the movie does well, because I like that. I like that people are thinking creatively like that. It gives encouragement that we're going to see smaller creators think of interesting ways, kind of like the Markiplier thing with Iron Lung. You see these smaller creators trying to get their name in there and their movies and films in the conversation. And I think like strategies like how Solo Mio took it gives hope that you can figure out ways to do that, because Markiplier's got a built-in audience, and not to diminish what he did, but trying to take the approach in a different way is going to be key to fit in with what is a very difficult industry to make your way in.
Yeah, I agree. But that's all I got for you guys. Now get out there and write about it.